I've been a little busy this last weekend. My younger sister, she celebrated her birthday, and the way she wanted to celebrate it was by renting a pontoon, and spending the entire day on this pontoon boat fishing. So, we went out, we caught lots of fish, we came home, we had a giant fish fry. For the members of the family who don't like fish, we got some pizza, and it was just a good weekend. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. I love to go fishing, so maybe one of these videos soon I'll just bring my phone along with me and my camera stuff, and we'll just film a video. Fishing is really relaxing. But anyways, that's what happened during my weekend. Hopefully you had a good one as well. I have just started the last season of Better Call Saul. It is a TV show that is actually a prequel to a series known as Breaking Bad. And you've definitely heard of Breaking Bad. I have no doubt in my mind. Whether you've seen it or not, I guess, is what the real question is. And then, I just need to go on the record and say, if you haven't seen this show, you are depriving yourself. It is the best TV show I have ever seen. The best. It is the best acting I've ever seen in movies or TV shows. I think it couldn't get any better. I honestly don't know if I could change anything about it, other than the fact that some of the characters are very hateable, and it makes it kind of hard to watch episodes that are focused around specific characters. But they play their part so well that they make you hate them. Anyways, it is very intense, very captivating. The plot is not predictable. Everything changes so fast, yet it remains consistent. Like, it's honestly the best writing that I've ever witnessed. So I thought today I would dedicate a video to the series of Breaking Bad, and then I would just read a list of facts from this TV show. I haven't done a facts video before, so I figured I'd do a facts video on something that I'm actually interested in knowing more about. So I haven't read these yet. Hopefully they are good. I think there's a list of like 40, so we'll read 40 of them. Hopefully you will be asleep, or you will be interested in what I'm reading. But let's just get straight into it. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you guys. Here we go. Fact number 1. Anna Gunn hates the hate towards Skylar. I'm also going to say this. There are spoilers. There are heavy spoilers. So this may be for my Breaking Bad veterans, the few of you that are out there. But Anna Gunn hates the hate towards Skylar. The hate directed at Anna Gunn's character, Skylar, spilled over into real life when the actress was the target for attacks from delusional fans. That's actually crazy. She wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times about playing the role of Skylar White, the wife of a cancer-stricken meth cook who protects her family at all costs from the dangerous man she shared a bed with, and never would have imagined she would be so hated for that. That is really funny, actually, because she's doing what would be considered to be the right thing, but she's very hateable. Viewers didn't like her because she didn't let Walt do as he pleased, and didn't want her and her son and newborn daughter to be in any danger, and wanted him to stop being a drug kingpin. How awful of her. Viewers rooted which also stars Bob Odenkirk, reprising his role, Saul Goodman, and will feature a few other Easter eggs from Breaking Bad. Fact number 3. Wendy the hooker is quite convincing. Wendy the hooker was a reoccurring character and meth addict who had a key role in Jesse's character and his whereabouts when Hank and the DEA was closing in on him. It turns out she is really quite convincing in her role when she's in character because someone tried to pick her up during production thinking she was a prostitute. That's actually crazy. That's crazy. In real life, the actor who plays Wendy, Julia Mineshi, is the embodiment of health, having competed in Ironman competitions and running several marathons. That's pretty crazy. She looks very opposite of what I would consider the embodiment of health in the show. Fact number 4. What are they smoking? What are the characters smoking when they're smoking meth on the show? Naturally, they aren't sampling Heisenberg's blue meth because that would impair their performance. Not to mention, it's really illegal. So they smoke sugar and or rock candy. Yikes. That's one way to get a sugar high, but they don't inhale though. That's probably for the best. Walter Jr. in real life. This is fact number 5. R.J. Mitt played Walter Jr., the breakfast-loving teenage son of Walt and Skylar on the show, who has cerebral palsy. He actually has cerebral palsy in real life, but his symptoms aren't as severe as that of the character he played, and he had to teach himself how to walk with crutches and slurred his speech. Wow. Since Breaking Bad, Mitt has appeared in shows like Switched at Birth, Now Apocalypse, and This Close. Yeah, really good acting. Fact number 6. Walter Jr. never knew Jesse. Jesse clearly knew Walt, and despite his best initial efforts to keep him away from his family, Jesse met Skylar after she confronted him at his home after Walt said he bought pot from him. Later they'd cross paths at one of the most awkward dinners of all time when Jesse is complimenting Skylar about slivered almonds and the green beans. That is such an amazing episode. I remember laughing so hard at that. We know he had several run-ins. Hank would later meet Marie, but Jesse never met Walter Jr. He's the only other major character that Jesse didn't meet on the show, and that's for the best, because that would have been really awkward and uncomfortable when Junior starts asking questions. I think this is fact 7. The original plan for Jane's death. The death of Jane and how she died was one of the turning points in the middle of the show that forever changed the arcs of Walt, Jesse, and the world they lived in. It indirectly resulted in a plane crash after Jane's father and air traffic controller was distracted while grieving and couldn't focus on his job. When Walt breaks into Jesse's house with he and Jane in a drug-induced stupor, he was originally supposed to give her a fatal dose of heroin, but Cranston nixed that idea because it would have been far too dark for the character at that time. Yeah, that would have been crazy. Plan B was to have Walt roll Jane on her back so she'd choke on her vomit, but was scratched for the same reasons. That left us with Walt serving as a passive role in her death instead of an active role. nominations on the show, but it also took its toll on the cast, specifically Cranston, who was moved to tears after filming the scene where he stood at the end of the bed in Jesse's bedroom and watched as Jane died. His character's selfish decision to let her die to protect himself and his meth empire shook up the characters on the show. But filming such a heart-wrenching scene was enough for the Emmy Award winner to become overcome with emotion. He wasn't alone, as I'm sure many viewers were as well after seeing what played out on their television sets. Personally, while it may be insanely dark for me to say, I don't think that Jane was good for Jesse, and while I didn't want her to die, I didn't want her to be a part of Jesse's life. So I remember that being a bittersweet moment. Fact 9. It was all a dream. Fans who purchased the final season on DVD and or Blu-ray may already know because they've watched all the bonus features by now. But those who only saw the show on AMC or Netflix may not know about a special dream sequence. There is an alternate ending for the series finale, and Bryan Cranston reprising his role as Hal from Malcolm in the Middle, who woke up from a nightmare, with his wife Lois, played by Jane Kasmarek, making a cameo in the bonus feature on the DVD. Now that's some dream. That's hilarious. That is so funny. I think this is 11. The coordinates. Walt buried his barrels that held his near $100 million fortune from his meth empire in the middle of nowhere in the New Mexico, and the site for some of the most suspenseful and intense moments in the show's history. Sorry for any grammatical errors. The writing isn't perfect on this. But if you type those coordinates in your GPS, you're not going to end up in the middle of nowhere. You're actually going to be taken to Q Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the show was shot. That's kind of cool. Those lottery numbers didn't bring Walt, Hank, and the rest of the gang much luck, so I wouldn't suggest playing those numbers in your state's lotto. Aaron Paul on The Price is Right. Before you knew Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman, he was Aaron Sturdivant on an episode of The Price is Right as a very enthusiastic 20-year-old who played dice game for a new car. He almost won too. He was off on the last digit and just missed winning a new car, but he got to play in the Showcase Showdown and came close to winning there too, but he overbid on his showcase by a measly $132. Don't you just wish he said, "Yo, bitch," to Bob Barker? I don't know what The Price is Right is, really. I know it's a game show. I've never watched it, though. Anthony Hopkins wrote fan mail to Bryan Cranston. Academy Award winner Anthony Hopkins fell in love with Breaking Bad, as did most of the world, and even went as far as to write personal fan mail to Cranston. According to Vanity Fair, the acclaimed actor wrote to the Walter White actor to compliment his performance back in 2013, calling it the best acting I have seen ever. What did I say, guys? It really is the best acting. Hopkins shared that he watched all 5 seasons in just 2 weeks' time, which is honestly wild. He continued by writing to Cranston, "I know there is so much smoke blowing and sickening BS in this business, and I've sort of lost belief in anything really, but this work of yours is spectacular, absolutely stunning." Aaron Paul had no formal training. When Aaron Paul wasn't trying to win the Showcase Showdown on The Price is Right, he wasn't busy honing his craft as an actor because he never had any formal training or took acting classes. said he learned how to act through trial and error. The only training I really have is trial and error. I never went to any sort of class. When I came out to LA, I was 17 years old, and I sat in on 2 different classes. What I saw during those classes was them doing these strange acting exercises which I didn't understand. I always just thought, hey, pretend like you're being someone else, and that's all there is to it. Not too bad for a guy who was nominated for the Best Supporting Actor 5 times and won the Emmy 3 times. You know, I honestly think that's true. Some people just have the ability to act, some of them don't. And obviously he does. In a show as violent and ruthless as this one, you have to expect a lot of murder, and Breaking Bad didn't disappoint with a staggering 270 people who died on the show. That's an average of 4.35 per episode. Granted, 167 of them were the passengers in the plane crash that Walter White helped cause, but that's still 103 deaths in 62 episodes, many of them happening in the final episode. What's the most popular way to get in, or to go out in the show? It wasn't ricin or a bomb attached to a wheelchair, but rather guns, as 56 of the murders came as a result of a bullet. Scarface inspiration. Vince Gilligan has often referred to the character of Walter White as Mr. Chips type transitioning into a Scarface character. So it was funny to see Walter and Walter Jr. staying up late one night to watch the classic movie in one piece. Another Scarface reference is actor Stephen Bauer, who appears in 2 episodes as Don Eladio and played Tony Montana's right-hand man, Manny Ribera, in Scarface, and Hector Salamanca, played by Mark Margoli. All the big celebrities watched Breaking Bad. As one of the biggest shows of all time, it's not surprising that celebrities were also addicted to Breaking Bad. Many of them even live tweeted along with fans, including comedians Seth Meyers, Patton Oswalt, and Jimmy Kimmel, along with actress Melissa Gilbert. For the Breaking Bad finale, we saw Emmy Rossum, Ellen DeGeneres, Kevin Smith, Ewan McGregor, Shonda Rhimes, and so many other A-listers take to social media to comment on the end of the how. It says on the end of the how, but it's definitely end of the show. The series brought upon such a community that Gilligan likely couldn't have ever imagined. The cast of the show are all huge stars now, but before the show was on television, there wasn't much star power attracting viewers to see the show for a particular actor. Bryan Cranston was on Malcolm in the Middle and had numerous guest appearances on shows, and Anna Gunn was on Deadwood, albeit in a small role, but there weren't many recognizable faces. That was all by Vince Gilligan's design, who wanted lesser-known actors, and even after the show exploded and high-profile actors wanted to be on the show, he stayed true to his plan and had to reject those big stars who wanted parts. Jesse's catchphrase. Jesse had his own particular way of expressing himself, and was fond of one particular word more than others. Yes, he often began or ended many of his sentences with the word bitch, and nearly said it in every episode. There are 62 episodes of the show, and Jesse said the magical word a whopping 54 times. If only he and the writers could have found a way to squeeze it in 8 more times for an average of 1 bitch per episode, for symmetry purposes. The Say My Name phenomenon. Walter White had the classic scene when he's talking to a rival meth operation and commands them to say his name and bow to the powerful Heisenberg. But White's partner, Jesse, only said his name twice during the entire series. He always referred to his partner in crime as Mr. White or Bitch, but he made two exceptions when he actually referred to him by his first name. It just wouldn't have been natural for the teacher and student to be on a first-name basis, now would it? George R.R. Martin had thoughts about the show. Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin was among the many celebrities who tuned in to watch Breaking Bad, and he even once compared his villainous characters to Walter White. In 2013, the acclaimed actor wrote in his blog that Heisenberg was a bigger monster than anyone he had written in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. Walter White is a bigger monster than anyone in Westeros, Martin wrote after watching a new episode. Chris Christopherson almost appeared. Famed singer-songwriter Chris Christopherson almost had a role in Breaking Bad, according to Entertainment Weekly. Back in Season 1, there was supposed to be a storyline where Skylar and Marie go on a road trip to spend time with their father, who would be played by Christopherson. While this certainly would have been interesting, the writers decided against it in the end. Writer Jennifer Hutchinson explained of the decision to scrap the storyline. The plot veered too far astray from our main story. It just wasn't the show. It didn't fit with the tone. Cranston's 1 in a million shot. Remember in Season 3 when Walt wanted to have a pizza with his family, but Skylar didn't think that was a good idea and wouldn't let him in the house? Of course you do, because it gave us one of the more memorable moments with a furious Walt, who, in a fit of rage, launched at the giant pie onto the roof in one take. What are the odds? Vince Gilligan said of the 1 in a million pizza launch, "You wish you had been there to witness it happen. It's too perfect to be real. It seems too perfect to be real, but in fact, it was." HBO didn't think it would last. Just like fellow AMC drama, The Walking Dead, this show too was passed on by the executives at HBO. The network only read the pilot episode and passed on the show because they didn't think it had much staying power. Little did they know that the show would last 62 episodes, rake in the Emmys, become a cultural sensation, and go down as one of the best series of all time. Think HBO would like to have that decision back? I wonder if it left the decision makers there with some regret and sleepless nights. It certainly left the network without a sizable chunk of change from the two smash hits. Awards and legacy. Breaking Bad won a whopping 16 Emmy Awards during its run, including Bryan Cranston for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, Aaron Paul for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, Anna Gunn for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, the series as a whole for Outstanding Drama Series, and more. The show is widely considered the best of all time, and at the show's conclusion, it had become one of the most watched cable series in America. The series even caught the attention of the Guinness Book of World Records, being named the most critically acclaimed show of all time. This came after Breaking Bad received a 99% on Metacritic.com. The Breaking Bad tattoo. After Bryan Cranston finished shooting his scenes and the show wrapped, the actor who played Walter White for 62 episodes got something permanent to make sure he's always a part of the show. Cranston got a Breaking Bad tattoo on his ring finger to commemorate his time and experiences on the show. According to The Wrap, he got the tattoo on the final day of filming. We were having a couple drinks at a bar, and artist, and we thought, why not? This is the time to do it. A meeting that never happened. Throughout Breaking Bad, we get to see Walter's relationship with his family members, Jesse, colleagues, meth distributors, and more. Each person in his life is so important to the story, but what's funny is that two of the closest characters to him never ended up meeting. As Screen Rant points out, Jesse and Walter Jr., Walter's son, never cross paths. Screen Rant also breaks down why the two central characters never met. We already heard this one. In real life, of course, actors Aaron Paul and RJ Mint seemed close during the show's run, posing together at an award show for photos and attending interviews together. Influence on New Mexico meth dealers. As is often the case, elements of the fictional show have played their way into the real world. The blue meth that Walt and Jesse manufactured and set themselves apart from the rest of the meth dealers in Breaking Bad is influencing drug dealers in New Mexico, where there has been a rise in blue meth found on the streets. Homeland Security investigations in New Mexico have seen red meth make its way onto the streets in an effort to brand themselves. But unlike the meth that Walt and Jesse made, this blue and red tinted meth is not as pure and is making people sick. Vince Gilligan's one regret. With a show this successful, it's only natural to wonder if the showrunner had any regrets about the choices he made. Whether it be a character's death, a random storyline, or even a single quote, there's a ton of material in the 5 seasons. Well, according to Mental Floss, Gilligan regrets letting Jesse have such nice teeth. Gilligan once shared on what he would do differently if he could. One thing that sort of troubled me, looking back over the entirety of the show, Jesse's teeth were a little too perfect. There were all the beatings he took, and of course he was using meth, which is brutal on your teeth. He'd probably have terrible teeth in real life. Walking Dead Connection, Part 1. In the first season of The Walking Dead, you have to look carefully, but there is an Easter egg for Breaking Bad fans. When the group of survivors are on the way and looking for medicine, Daryl has a batch of prescription bottles in a bag that has some blue meth in the bottom and a nod to the blue meth made by Walt and Jesse. But that's not the only connection the show they share with the show of which they shared a network.